Welcome to the Capital One billing statement overview. In today's video, we are going to analyze or read together the billing statement of two Capital One credit cards. I have selected two out of my four cards. I have my Venture One card and my Savor card. These are the ones that I now use for my day-to-day spending. So the Venture card billing statement that I have right now is for September, and it is divided into four different pages. I'm going to shrink it down and then shrink it up so that I can give you an overview of what each page has. Here's a quick overview of page one. Page one gives you payment information, account summaries, and your payment remission pay stub. And the page right after that is all of your disclosures in fine print, of course, but no worries. There will be a part two where we will be going through these fine prints in detail. The third and fourth page is a list of all of your transactions, fees, and interest charged in this period. Now let's go into details on each section. At the very top of your billing statement, you have the logo of the card issuer, Capital One, and right next to it, you have the name of the credit card. This is the Venture One card. And directly to the right, you have the detailed name of the card with the last four digit of your card. So for mine, it's Venture One credit card, World Elite MasterCard, ending in my last four digits. Right underneath that is a very important date. That is your billing cycle. There are 30 days in this billing cycle, and it's from August 19th, 2023 to September 17th, 2023. Now, your billing cycle date is critical, especially this closing date here, because this billing date determines the day that Capital One will send a message to the credit bureau to record your utilization rate. If you're somebody who really cares about keeping your credit score low and your credit utilization rate low because it keeps your credit score high, this date is more important than your due date. This September 19th is more important than your credit card due date. Now, right below this introductory information, you have two boxes. On your left, you have the payment information. In this box, the first thing you see is your payment due date. Large, it's in bold, October 12th, 2023. And right next to it, it's giving you a quick disclaimer. For online and phone payments, the deadline is 8 p.m. Eastern. This is really important because each one of your credit cards will have a different requirement in terms of what the cutoff time is on the day your payment is due. So you really need to understand what this date is for each one of your cards. Right below that, it tells you what your new balance is. Your new balance is 420.57. And this new balance is important because it's based off of the September 17th date. Now, you knowing that September 17th is when your new balance is going to be generated, if like me, you want your credit utilization to be low, by September 15th, September 20, you're paying that balance to zero. Right next to your new balance, it's telling you the minimum payment due so that you do not incur any late fees. Right below that, it gives you two sets of warnings. Warning 1, late payment warning. If we do not receive your minimum payment by your due date and time, I added time. You may have to pay a late fee of up to $40. That is not small. That is not smart at all. Right below the late fee payment warning, you have the minimum payment warning. If you make only the minimum payment each period, you will pay more in interest and it will take you longer to pay your balance. For example, below there's a table that gives you a little bit more detail. If you only pay your minimum payment, it would take you 22 months to pay it off, and you will end up paying an estimated total of $539. If you would like information about credit counseling services, call 1-800-326-8055. If you are following my credit card billing statement series, you will notice that these disclaimers are on almost every single one of your billing statements. Why? The billing statement from your credit card companies is governed by federal law. They have to have certain things on here per federal laws in order to protect you as a consumer. To the right of your payment information box, you have your account summary. At the very top is your previous balance. So for mine, my previous balance was $2,242.06. Right underneath that are all of the payments that I made since then. So in this billing cycle, I made payments totaling $6,862.25. Were there other credits? So maybe were things returned, right? Did I make any returns, etc.? Or cash back? I did not have anything, so that's a zero. Right under other credits, you have transactions. So my previous balance was $2,242.06, but I also added $5,040.76 in transactions. Cash advance was zero. Fees and charges, zero. Interest rate charge was also zero because I paid off as much as I possibly could as early as I possibly could. My new balance here is $420.57. Now, so long as I paid this balance off by October 12th, I would not incur any credit card charges. And however, it's actually my goal to not incur any credit card charges. So my new balance here, based on my previous balance, payments I've made, the transactions, and all of these zeros is $420.57. And right underneath all of these transaction and balance summary, I have my credit limit information. My credit limit is $8,000. The available credit that I have as of September 17, 2023 is $7,579.43 because that has $420.57 subtracted from it. Right below that, it's telling me that my cash advance credit limit is $3,000. The available credit that I have for cash advance is $3,000. I have not taken any cash advance, so makes sense that my available credit for cash advance is $3,000. Right underneath my account summary, you will find my reward summary information. My rewards as of 9/15/2023 is as follows. My rewards balance is $64,710, and it's telling me track and redeem your reward with our mobile app or on CapitalOne.com. Below that, it gives me a little bit more insight into my rewards. My previous balance was 57,974 points. So what I earned this period was 6,736 points, and I've redeemed 0 points. So it sounds like I gained about a point for every dollar I spent, which sounds a little lower than I would have expected. Right below all of this, towards the end of the page, are your account notifications. You are enrolled in autopay. You've selected to pay the minimum amount due, which will be debited from your bank account on your selected payment date. If your payment is more than your current balance, we will only debit the current balance. This is also common in so far a lot of all of these billing statements. it's great to automatically see that your auto pay is on, because if my auto pay wasn't on, I will be a little bit concerned that something has happened. I want the peace of mind of knowing that my auto pay is on. At least at a minimum, I will not have to get a late fee. Right underneath that, this is the stub that you will tear if you were submitting a check. If you are somebody who doesn't want to use the website or the app to make your payment or call customer service to make your payment, you can always mail in a check. And this stub makes it easier for you to make sure that you are mailing things to the right address, but specifically to the right department. It's really important that you mail this to the right place, because if they don't get it, you could be in trouble. So on this stub, you have your address. Mine is redacted here in black. You have your payment due date of October 12th, 2023 with the account ending in. And right below here, you tend to have like a barcode and some numbers. Those help Capital One know exactly whose account to add this information to. There's another disclaimer. Please send us this portion of your statement and only one check or money order payable to Capital One to ensure your payment is processed promptly. Allow at least 7 business days for delivery. This is very important. If your payment is due October 12th, don't put this in the mail October 10th. You want to give yourself at a minimum 7 days. Me, I actually suggest putting it in the mail 2 weeks before, and then have certify it with a tracking number so that you can track when they actually receive it. The next page are the disclaimers. For this part of the video, we are going to skip through the disclaimers and come back to it at another time, where we would focus only on reading through all of these fine prints, because we don't want to miss anything at all. Let's move on to the second page. Same format. At the very top, you have your company, your card issuer logo, your specific credit card logo, and to the right of that, you have the name of the credit card. Underneath that, you have your billing statement. In this part of your billing statement, this is very important because this is where all of your transactions are going to be. If you do not have mint.com, by the way, click right over here for a video on a detailed tutorial of Mint Intuit platform that helps you better manage your finances. If you do not have that platform that takes in all of your transaction, organizes them, categorizes them, and keeps track of your spending, this is where you will be tracking all of your spending. The first part are your transactions. You will always have your name and your account number up top. The very first part here are all of your payments, your credits, and your adjustments. So for mine, I made all of these different payments on September 1st, September 12th, and September 14th, right? So any chance I get, I am trying to pay off this card as much as I can because I don't want to incur any transactions. Right underneath that are my detailed transactions. You have the transaction date, the post date, the description, and the amount. So it says additional information on the next page because there's more. Now this is page 3 or page 4 or 5. My transaction continues because this is one of my main card, right? So you see me having a lot of transactions. Now that the transaction section is over, there's a total amount. Total transaction for this period is $5,040.76. And directly underneath my transaction is going to be a record of all of my fees. And because I was very good, I do not have any fees. But if I did have fees, they would be here, formatted the same way transactions and payments are formatted. Next page, once again, it tells you additional information. Right after fees, you have interest charged. Because I was also a very good girl, I do not have any interest charges on purchases, cash advance, or other balances. So the total interest for this period is 0, and we love that. Now, in your transaction section, billing statements will have a total year-to-date information. And in this section, what they have to provide you your total fees year to date and your total interest charged year to date. So if you're ever looking to find out, well, how much am I charged for a particular account? Your billing statement has that for the whole year. So for me, on this venture card, I have been charged this year $577.81. That's actually really good considering the fact that I use this card almost on a monthly basis. Right underneath the transaction table, you have the interest charge calculation. Another thing that per federal guideline they have to report. Right under here, it states your annual percentage rate or APR is the annual interest on your account. Type of balance, purchases and cash advances. Annual percentage rate or APR for my purchases is 27.90%. Is that insane or what? And there's a P next to it. This is important. Cash advances, also 27.90 with a P right next to it. Balances subject to interest rate is zero. Interest charge is also zero. Now, underneath that, let's read up a little bit more on interest charges. Variable APR. If you have a letter code displayed next to any of the above APRs, this means they are variable APRs. They may increase or decrease based on one of the following indices reported in the Wall Street Journal as described below. Other billing statement would just have the V next to it. Capital One is giving you an indication on how they are calculating your interest based on the code right next to it. Right underneath variable APR, there is a code that guides you to help you understand how they are calculating your APR. And I will also do a class on this specifically very soon. Code next to your APR, if it's a P, that means that it's the prime rate plus the margin. When your APRs will change. The first day of your billing cycle that ends in January, April, July, or October. So for me, the first day of my billing cycle in October, this APR might change. It might go up or down. And this is why it has my billing cycle right up here. So sometimes October 19, my APR might change because it's the prime rate versus the margin. And that margin is whatever they decide it is. Okay. The prime rate, it's set by federal guidance. I forgot the department. Jerome Powell, whatever department he leads. They set the prime rate and then Capital One adds a margin to it. And on the first day of your billing cycle at the end of January, April, July, October, so at the end of each quarter, that will determine your interest rate. So we'll see what mine is going to be on October 19th. And that is the end of your billing statement. Stay tuned for part 2, where we are going to read the fine print in detail. So this concludes the end of your credit card statement for Capital One Venture Card. And all of your Capital One statements are going to look the same. Let's quickly look at this Capital One Savor card here. This is another Capital One card that I have. I don't use this one quite as often, but as you can see, the format is the same. The layout is the same. The contents are the same. Second page, all of your disclosures, your fine prints, my transaction sections. I don't have a whole lot of transactions on here. Fees, interest rate, I wasn't charged anything, but I was charged $95 this year because this card is one of those that has an annual fee attached to it. So that's reflected in my totals year to date. And towards the end of my card, it gives me the same information I got from my venture card. My annual percentage rate is 28.49p. P meaning that I will be charged the prime rate plus the margin, and this will be billed, and this will change. The APR will change 4 times a year at the beginning of each quarter. If it was a D, it will be the first day of each billing cycle. So literally my prime rate could be changing every month. At least as a P, I get to have a full quarter before the rate changes. And in this particular account, there's more information added under account notifications. So here, remember when we were looking at my venture card, my account notifications were on my first page. In this particular billing statement, it's telling me, please check page 3 on this statement for your account notifications. Why? I don't know. So right underneath interest charge calculations, I have my account notification. Credit balance, do not pay, because they owe me money because I got a credit. It's notifying me not to pay the credit balance. You are enrolled in autopay. You've selected to pay the minimum amount due, which will be debited from your bank account on your scheduled payment date. If your payment is more than your current balance, we will only debit the current balance. A little bit of nuance, but for the most part, very, very similar format. That concludes our video on the Capital One billing statement overview. Stay tuned for part 2, where we are going to go over the fine print in detail.